Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Curious Owlbear, and I'm here to explore everything Dungeons & Dragons. I've got another set of random encounters for you DMs, and this time they're set in the mountains. Before we hop in, I'd like to quickly mention that my first full one-shot adventure is now available on DM's Guild. It features an old gnomish tinkerer who has closed his grand workshop off to the public. However, due to recent events, the nearby town has hired multiple adventuring parties to infiltrate the workshop and retrieve a magical item. Check out the Inventor's Triumph at the link in the description below. For now, we're heading out to the tallest peaks in the land. Let's see what's out there. As the party trudges up the steep rocky slopes, they slowly become more and more weary with each step. They eventually come to a 200-foot wide ravine with a single rope bridge straddling the expanse. The cold mountain wind rushes up through the ravine, causing the bridge to sway and creak before the party. Peering over the edge, players estimate the drop is about 300 feet to the sheer cliffs below. Now, you might choose to make this bridge entirely safe, or you might want to have specific rules for passage. Either way, if you have any players or characters who are adverse to heights, this can be a harrowing experience. If you'd like to make specific rules for passage, I recommend giving the bridge a weight limit, which will force your players to cross one at a time. Maybe some of the planks in the rope bridge will crack under the stress of the player's weight. Or you can force them to make an athletics check as the wind sways the rope bridge underneath them. Each of these restrictions will place players in an unusual circumstance, whether it's splitting up the group, choosing which items to carry, or forcing them to make ability checks. These restrictions are what make this random encounter both challenging and rewarding. The party makes their way across the rope bridge, continuing up the mountain trail. They come across a rather large stack of firewood at a small intersection in the road. The chunks of wood appear old, as if they sat rotting through the summer. If the players take the junction, they end up at an abandoned cabin that once belonged to a trapper. This simple encounter offers you a few opportunities as the DM. Firstly, you can populate the area with a number of traps that the trapper might have used for personal defense. The cabin may also have some new residents, whether it be wild creatures or perhaps some malevolent humanoids like a hag. Alternatively, this area could be a good place to drop a few hints about the quest. For example, the trapper's shredded remains may give the party a few clues about their foe. This type of area can also provide players with the perfect place to camp for the evening, though the fresh scent of new visitors may attract other creatures in the night. I enjoy throwing random encounters like this in there, even if there's no combat, because they help the world feel more full and alive. Players will tend to recognize a good spot for camping, so this type of encounter can help you moderate the flow of the session as well. If the party chose to stay in the cabin overnight, they will be happy with their decision. That evening, the skies darken and a massive snowstorm rolls in. As the storm rages on, the party begins to notice that it is ravaged by lightning, thunder, and acid rain. For each hour that a player spends outside in this storm, they receive lightning, acid, and cold damage. I recommend setting the damage at 1d6 for each type of damage, but you can adjust it however you see fit. If your party is caught outside in the storm, they will need to make their way to shelter as quickly as possible or face certain death. If they were lucky enough to stay in some type of shelter, whether it be the trapper's cabin or something else, they emerge in the morning to discover that their shelter has sustained a significant amount of damage from the night's storm. This random encounter is slightly adjusted from the Magical Storms section in Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I highly recommend checking out the Ocean Environs portion of that book for some truly diverse weather effects. The heavy snows from the previous night make today's travel difficult for the party. They continue their ascent along a steep open slope when a wide expanse of ice suddenly gives way under the party. Those who don't act quick enough are swallowed by the hole, falling up to 50 feet to a point where they become wedged in the ice. This encounter offers a little bit of fall damage, but it will primarily seek to make your players work together to solve a problem. If you set a difficult DC for freeing people from the ice, then your players will need to work together and utilize all of the available resources in order to come up with a viable solution. Additionally, they'll be on the open slope during the entire process, so you can send some more creatures at them in the meantime. The party finally makes their way back into the tree line, taking some solace in the cover it provides. After trekking through the trees for another couple of hours, the players begin to get the feeling that they're being watched. Scanning the forest around the party doesn't reveal any clues, however, so the group is forced to press on. Not long after, the group spots some fresh tracks in the mud, and a good survival check will tell them that this is a pair of deer. With a little luck and some good survival skills, the party is able to follow the tracks to a clearing where they spot the animals. If the party chooses to attack one, however, they'll quickly find themselves surrounded by a Goliath clan. This is the Goliath's territory, and they don't take kindly to others hunting in their region. Asserting their dominance, they will demand the party's kill, or a sufficient tribute to allow the party to pass. I like to use encounters like this to give the talking members of the party a chance to shine. If the group is respectful and quick to offer tribute, then this encounter will not devolve into combat, but it could make your players a little bit nervous. At the top of the tree line, a massive tree stands several hundred feet from any other. It must be hundreds of years old, as its trunk is over 4 feet wide. Now the group may choose to simply continue along the path, but if they choose to rest by the tree or investigate it in any way, then they may find some clues about their quest. For example, if the group is hunting a wyvern, they may notice some fresh claw marks in the trunk of the tree. Additionally, if the group has the ability to speak with plants, then they could get some very valuable information about the nearby residents, including predatory animals. Being several hundred feet away from any of its friends, this tree is very lonely and eager to communicate with the group. I like this type of encounter because it ensures my party is not always in combat mode. And it's a fun way to drop clues and hints about the quest that they're currently on. Fresh from their rest, the group continues up the slope. They come to a rocky area where they must navigate through narrow passes between large boulders. Suddenly, the ground starts to rumble. It lasts for several seconds before subsiding. The group cautiously continues, but about a minute later the rumbling begins again. This continues for several minutes, with the rumbling steadily growing into a shaking as the party travels along the path. Finally, the group starts to make out a sound that accompanies the shaking. A low, deep, hearty laugh. The group finally comes into view of a cave entrance with a campfire outside. Sitting by the fire is the massive figure of a frost giant, clutching his belly as he lets out a cacophonous laugh, along with a smaller dwarven figure. If the group makes it into earshot without being noticed by the odd pair, they begin to hear that the dwarf bard is telling the frost giant story after story as the frost giant laughs. If the dwarf bard catches sight of any of the players, he will attempt to call for help without alerting the frost giant. It seems like this bard has been stuck here for several days, forced to tell the giant story after story to keep him entertained or else become a meal. I love setting up encounters like this that ask your players to risk their livelihood for the greater good. Your party may choose to ignore the dwarf, leaving him to his plight, but you'll always be able to refer back to that time your party did not rescue the dwarf in need. The group makes their way along a treacherous narrow pass, coming upon a strange sight. Stretching over the path above the group is a large boulder that seems to have fallen onto a severed tree trunk. The boulder looms dangerously over the path, and if the group attempts to pass under it without taking precautions, they will trigger a rope that rests under the fresh snow, and the boulder will crash onto the unlucky members of the party under it. The sound of the boulder crashing alerts 2 mountain trolls who rest in their den down the path. They rush to collect whatever fresh meat they've just caught and engage the remaining members of the party. Now, your group may be high enough level that 2 trolls will not be a very difficult encounter, but if you throw in a simple trap like this, you can add a lot of complexity to the fight. If one or more of your party members is unconscious when the trolls arrive, then this easy fight could turn into a deadly one fairly quickly. The next day, another storm rolls in, dumping another layer of snow onto the mountain. Traveling is treacherous during the storm, and players can only see a few feet in front of them as the snow swirls about. One of the players spots a large creature moving in the snow nearby, then another and another. The group suddenly finds themselves surrounded by a small group of Yetis. The Yetis have used their keen sense of smell to locate their prey, while remaining hidden amid the snowstorm. They will use their chilling gaze in an attempt to paralyze some members of the party while focusing down the rest. If your players are higher level or have access to a significant amount of fire damage, you may want to upgrade one of the creatures into an abominable Yeti, which is significantly more powerful. However, there can only be one abominable Yeti in an area, as they are highly territorial creatures. I love the flavor of this creature, and when combined with a snowy environment, the Yeti can be an extremely dangerous creature. The party crests a small rise in the path and looks down into the valley to the east. Nestled in the valley is a partially frozen lake, over 100 miles long and 30 miles across. The difficult terrain in the area, along with frigid temperatures, have kept this lake pristine and hidden. It makes for the perfect picturesque campsite, as large pine trees in the area provide good cover from the elements. If the group attempts to fish in the lake or disturbs its surface in any way, they will wake its ancient resident, a 10-headed hydra. The monster will peer out of the water with a single head, which may alert the party members. If the hydra spots the group, it recognizes a chance at a good meal and waits for an opportune time to attack. Flora and fauna of the nearby area know better than to disturb this ancient resident and keep far away from the lake. However, desperate animals often fall prey to the hydra as they come to the lake for a quick drink. The hydra waits for an opportune moment, peering out of the water at the group from several different areas, and then attacks the weakest member of the party first. And that brings us to the end of the last random encounter in this video. If you're going to use any of these random encounters in your game, leave me a comment below and let me know which one. If there are any environments that you need random encounters for, I'd love to hear about those in the comment section as well. My biggest goal is to create useful videos for you and the community. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to see more D&D videos in the future. Until next time, stay curious, adventurers.